Is the CPC exam hard? Yes. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye. Just kidding, but hard is kind of subjective. For me, getting a slam dunk is a lot harder than it would be for, say, LeBron James. But we can kind of break down that hard and talk about what is it in particular that makes the CPC exam harder for some, and what are the areas that more people find to be more difficult. Hey there, I'm Victoria. I'm a medical coder, auditor, educator, and content creator, and on my channel, I provide tips, tricks, and tutorials to help you be successful in a medical coding career. Today, I want to talk to you about the difficulty level of the CPC exam, what to expect, and how you can conquer it. Today's video is sponsored by SelectCoder. SelectCoder is an online coding resource that provides all the decision-making information you need to quickly code accurate claims the first time. Powered by guidance from CMS, the AMA, and HC Pro subject matter experts, you'll receive access to Part B news and specialty coding articles and thousands of coding and billing tips. You can search modifiers, ICD-10-CM, CPT, and HCPCS codes using a single search field that provides easy-to-navigate results. SelectCoder's easy-to-use single-page layout means you can find what you're looking for in less time with less clicks. With robust features like a CCI validation tool and LCD and NCD policy information at the code level, SelectCoder streamlines your coding workflow. The CCI validation tool reveals clear bundling conflicts with instructions on how to apply code-specific modifiers to avoid denials, while the NCD and LCD policies enable you to verify medical necessity with the most current Part A, Part B, and DME coverage based on your location. The extracted code lists and quick links to the CMS website will make you more efficient and accurate. Plus, SelectCoder has an E&M audit tool that lets you compare time-based and medical decision-making coding selections for office and outpatient visits in one swift process. The results for both selections are calculated side by side so you can quickly see how to best report your claims. And if you're looking for CEUs, you can earn up to 24 AAPC CEUs a year with Decision Health's online information and quizzes. Sign up for the 14-day free trial to give it a test run. You can click this link right here. I'll also have it in the description below, and sign up today. Now, back to talking about the CPC exam. The CPC exam is 100 questions. At the time of this recording, they are all multiple choice. We may see a small amount of them move to fill in the blank in 2025, so double check the AAPC website. But currently, 100 multiple choice questions, and it covers medical coding, so ICD-10-CM, CPT, HCPCS. It covers med-term, a little bit of anatomy, some compliance, and it is a timed exam, which means you only have 4 hours to complete that. So time management is a crucial aspect of the exam. And it tests on all different categories and specialties. So radiology, surgery, anesthesia, evaluation and management, diagnosis. Plus, again, those questions on things like compliance and just really understanding guidelines and regulations. It's really not about code lookup. It's not about simple, oh, I looked up this code and it's this. It's really going to dive into your understanding of the guidelines of sequencing, of how to get the highest level of specificity, of making sure that we're coding to the best fit. So one of the things people find difficult or hard about the CPC exam is how comprehensive it is, because it's not just surface level coding. It is really diving deep into your understanding of things like anatomy and how to apply it into different coding scenarios. A lot of people will ask, like, what are the concepts or what are some of the questions that I can kind of memorize in order to be successful at this exam? But here's the thing. The exam is randomized. It used to be that they just had different versions. They would have like 6 or so different versions of the CPC exam. So you could say, hey, this is what was on my exam. And you could kind of go, oh yeah, people could cheat a little bit that way. But now everything is electronic, which means there's this huge test bank of, I would guess, over 1,000 questions. And you're going to get 100 questions that they're going to be kind of equally levels of difficulty, levels of time, and because everything's categorized, of course, based off of like difficulty levels and so forth. So even if you're like, oh, this question was on my exam, and someone tells you that, like, there's a 1 in probably 1,000+ chance that it might appear on your exam. So this is not an exam where you can go, oh, well, yeah, just memorize these particular questions and you'll be good. You really have to understand more the general concepts of medical coding. There are certain things that are more likely to pop up. Like if you see it in your study materials, you see it in your training, there might be a certain concept. Like oftentimes there'll be several questions that are different types of complicated OB cases. Like maybe it's a patient who had a twin delivery and one was vaginal and one was cesarean. So you can't say, oh, just memorize how to code this, because it's really that concept of how to code complicated OB cases versus just saying, this is going to be the question and this is the answer. And time management really comes into play. With 4 hours and 100 questions, you've got a little bit around 2.5 minutes per question. Now, granted, some of the questions you should know off the top of your head because they might just be like a midterm thing, which should only take a few seconds to answer, which means that time goes into the rest of the time that you have to answer questions. You have to get a 70% overall to pass. So even if, for example, you're terrible at E&M and you get all of your E&M questions wrong, you can still pass the exam. Skipping around is a must, which is why it's really important to get familiar with the platform. There's been a lot of initiatives from the AAPC. They've updated some of the material so that you can go in and watch videos of what it looks like. The practice exams are really, really going to help you out, the official ones from the AAPC, because they are on the platform that the exam is. They look and feel like exactly the same. So if you're like, I don't know how to open up the calculator, I don't know how to open up notes, I don't know how to navigate around, you can buy one of their official practice exams and feel everything out ahead of time to ease some of that anxiety. And it has the timer on there, so you can start getting that good feel of what your time is looking like for the exam. Plus, you'll get more familiar with things like skipping around. Some people will say like, hey, Victoria, there's going to be some questions on there that I'm scared about. There's going to be some longer cases. How do I tackle those? Well, if you get to something and you're like, oh, this is going to take me a while, you can skip it. And if you've gone through that process or watched one of those tutorial videos that the AAPC puts out, I think they're even having some sessions now that you can sign on for where they'll kind of walk you through it. Take advantage of those, because then when you're on your exam and you're like, oh, this is a difficult question, you will already know off the top of your head, like, because you've gone through this before, like how to skip that question and flag it and come back, which you can do on the electronic exams. Because every question has the exact same weight, meaning that one 2-page note has 1 point. Everything has 1 point. Now, granted, if we move to fill in the blank, they might be graded a little bit differently. Like if there's a case where it's 2 fill in the blanks and you only get one of the blanks right, they'll give you like a half credit, at least the way it looks currently with the practice exams. But each question, 1 point. It's not like, oh, this question's longer or more difficult, so it's going to be 3 points and this one's only going to be half a point. Everything is 1 point. And you really cannot memorize codes. This is not something where memorization is going to help a lot because of just how vast medical coding is. There's tens of thousands of codes. It would be impossible to memorize all of them. Granted, there's some that you'll get familiar with. Most people remember I-10 is hypertension, E11.9 is diabetes. Those are some of the first ones you'll probably have memorized, but it really is about applying the guidelines, understanding sequencing, understanding what's included in other surgical codes, applying modifiers, interpreting provider documentation, reading between the lines a little bit. It's really hard to pinpoint exactly what will be on your exam, other than if you look at the exam layout, like there's going to be this many questions from this category and this many questions from this category. Other than that, it really could be any kind of potpourri of different concepts. Now, as far as what can make it easier, of course, preparing appropriately is your best bet, and doing things like getting appropriate training. Most training programs, the sweet spot is like 6 to 9 months. If you're doing a longer program, I would hope you're getting an associate's degree or something at the end of it, but most of them you can do in 6 to 9 months. Some people, if they have a clearer calendar or they have a good foundation of healthcare prior, can do it faster. I would not recommend like a 3-day boot camp unless you're someone who is better situated in that kind of experience level to do that. I think doing some exam prep after your full-blown training in medical coding is usually a good idea. Maybe a couple of weeks focusing on specifically the exam format, working through the exam, going through study guides, and going through those practice exams. People will ask me, well, what about this one that I found on, Amazon? I really focus on the official materials, not because I want to butt kiss the AAPC, but I found that a lot of these unofficial resources, especially these like books that you get on Amazon, they're, first off, probably shouldn't have been printed in the first place because there's a lot of certain registered things that they're probably not paying for. Oftentimes they're outdated. A lot of them are just like, I'm just putting crap together because I know people are going to buy it because they are desperate to pass the exam, and it's not great quality. I've even seen people online that have developed study materials from things they found online, and oftentimes what it is they found things online that were pirated from old official AAPC material. So essentially it was copyright infringement. So like a student that was in a course got a practice exam from a teacher and they put it on one of those websites for people to cheat on their courses. This isn't like sharing Netflix passwords. This is putting your career and your future at stake. Now, oftentimes the AAPC does run deals as far as study materials. So sometimes you'll see things where they'll give you a bundle package for the month that they'll say, hey, if you purchase the certification exam, we will include a study guide, or we'll also include some practice exams, and you can get all that included with the exam. I don't see the exam fees themselves go on sale, so you won't get like half off of exams very often. I can probably count maybe on one hand the amount of time in 15 years I've seen that happen. And that was back when the AAPC had volunteers kind of administering the exams. I think now that we're the exam centers, we'll see that even less frequently. But their materials are great. I don't know if they're ever going to bring back like the end of year sales. Like they used to at the end of the year, like sell off all of their overstock of study guides and stuff for like half price. I don't know that they do that too much anymore, but definitely look out around Black Friday and end of year because there's some really good deals you can get. And the study materials from year to year, only like a small percentage of it changed. We're not going to reinvent the wheel everywhere and go, let's just throw the baby out with the bathwater and start over. You know, we just want to update as little as possible. That's what the AAPC wants to do. We're all inherently a little bit lazy. So unless a code has changed or a guideline has changed, that's what's going to get updated. They're not going to redo the whole thing. So I've seen maybe like 2% on average of the material changes from year to year. But really think about getting things like the practice exams because they really do ease that anxiety of understanding the platform. Now, as far as resources you're allowed to bring, you can bring an ICD-10-CM book, a CPT book, and a HCPCS book. It has to be current calendar year or prior calendar year. Can't bring more than one calendar year, and you can't bring next calendar year. So even though ICD-10-CM codes update in October, you can't use that next year's book until it is January 1 of that next year. And you wouldn't want to because they're not going to update and put any of those new codes in the book until January 1 of the next year. So learning how to navigate through your books can help make it a little less hard, especially people love tabs for their exams. It helps you find things a little bit easier. Some people have highlighting techniques that they like to do. That can be helpful as well, help draw your eye to certain things when you're looking for them. As of the date of this recording, you can write in your book. There are guidelines as far as what you can and cannot write in your book, so you can't write your entire study guide into the blank pages of your CPT book. You can't write huge passages of text. You can't take your study guide questions or practice exam questions and write them in your book. You can't take the exam and write in your book. You actually won't have access to writing materials to even do so anymore. And you can't like white out a whole page and then write notes on it. And a lot of the books now do have pages that are marked notes so that you can just take that whole blank page and write your notes in it. There's oftentimes a lot of real estate you can use in your HCPCS book. So if you're someone who's like, I want to write a bunch of abbreviations somewhere where I can remember them because I keep forgetting these, or a certain little cheat notes to yourself, you can do that in your HCPCS book. Look for spots there. But again, like it's not supposed to be like you're writing a whole nother book into a book. And there's so much going on during the exam. If you have 5 pages of notes written down, that's really going to take a lot of time consumption to go through them all. Again, check the official information that the AAPC sends you in their emails, on their instructions, what they give you at the date that you are taking your exam to make sure that it is accurate for when your exam date is. Now, what if you fail? What if you don't pass the exam? You take it and you get a 62%. Well, you'll get some information from the AAPC about areas that you need to focus on, that you did not score very well on and need to relearn a little bit. So focus on those areas, restudy them. Depending on what kind of package you bought, you might have another exam attempt. For a while, they were only doing 2 attempt packages, but I think they've brought back the cheaper 1 attempt ones. So check with with your account, see what you've got. I know occasionally they'll do this like top tier premier sale where they'll sell you the training program and all of your books and practice exams and Practicode, and then they'll give you unlimited attempts, which I think is only actually technically like 60 or 20 years attempts or something like that. But in any case, depending on what you've bought and what you've purchased, you might have different exam vouchers. So for example, if you have 2 attempts with your voucher and you fail it twice, now you have to buy another voucher to take it again. So you can take the exam as many times as you like. You don't have to wait any certain amount of times to take it again, but you do have to purchase vouchers for each time you want to take it. So the CPC exam is a challenge, but with some preparation, it definitely is achievable. And just remember that every great coder started exactly where you are right now, making those first steps into this career field. You're closer to making this happen than you probably think. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. I will see you guys in the next video. And until then, just keep on coding on.